Hi, friends. This is Dr. Arpita Gupta Dipalma, and you're listening to my podcast, From Pissed Off to Poised. This show is for busy women physicians and professionals just like you who are ready to take control of their emotions while learning how to excel in juggling all the things they are responsible for in life. It's for overextended mamas who are trying to figure out how to work smarter, not harder. It's for multitasking women who are tired of playing the role of the angry and resentful air traffic controller, who simply want to learn how to create a life that is more calm, intentional, and joyful for themselves. My goal is to help you learn how to eliminate the overwhelm and maintain your composure in high-stress situations that you face with the demands in your day-to-day life. Because I get you guys, this was totally me. You are not alone. I invite you to embark on your journey of transformation with me. Enjoy the listen. Hey there, and welcome back to From Pissed Off to Poised. Today, we're going to talk about something that really hits home for many of us as parents. I know it hit home for me. It was having the anger and frustration in our interactions with our kids. And when we dig a little deeper into our own reactions, we often find that the real work in parenting is actually within ourselves. And that's totally what rang true with me. I started to have awareness that I was showing up in ways with my kids at home that I was not proud of, that I felt so out of control in the heat of the moment and I wanted to change it, but yet I couldn't. I didn't like the way I was so angry and upset, and it was often misdirected anger towards them. And so I want to dive in a little bit today into giving you some ideas and tips that kind of started to help me navigate some of the tricky moments that showed up for us, where I could start to build awareness and be more intentional and plan in advance for things that would set me off so that I could show up as the mom and the loving, caring person that I really wanted to be with them. So I'm just going to dive right in today and hop into some of these tips that I think might be helpful for you that really made a difference for me and my interactions with my minions. All right, so the first one is really starting to notice if and when we are making our kids' wins and losses be a reflection of ourselves. And I will tell you, I was super guilty of this, all right, because I was falling into this habit of making my kids' achievements where they won their awards or got the best grade or did whatever that was putting them to the next level for success. I was making it mean that I parented them well. I did everything I needed to do to prepare them to get to that point. And so when you can start to notice that a lot of times parents fall into this habit of making their kids' achievements or struggles mean something about them or their worth as parents, that's when we can start to really decide if we want to break that cycle, if we want to make a change. We oftentimes will push our kids to succeed, not so much because we think it's the best thing for them, but if you really do the reflective work on this, we might figure out that it's because we want to feed our own need for validation. It quiets this little voice telling us that we maybe aren't enough, that we didn't do our best in the past, or that we're not doing our best currently as a parent to them. So with this, if you add in these high expectations that a lot of these tiger parents, myself included, tend to have, it becomes a setup for disappointment on both ends, both for your kiddos with their interactions with you, as well as for you with your expectations that you have of other people. So this is where I want you to take a pause and just really kind of reflect and maybe ask yourself, why is it so important to me that my kids succeed here? Am I making their achievements or failures mean something about me? That maybe I didn't parent well enough, or I'm not showing up good, or it's an embarrassment. What are people going to think? What are you making their achievements or failures mean? And is this attachment helping anyone? Is it really serving you or your child, or is it really just creating unnecessary pressure for the both of you? Our kids' behaviors are solely about them and the choices that they are making. It is not on us, and their path isn't a mirror of our parenting skills. Ultimately, our kids' behaviors are not a reflection of our parenting and what we've provided them with. It's a reflection of them and their choices. So when they do badly, it's not a reflection of us, but rather them. And likewise, and most importantly, when they do well, it's also just a reflection of them, not you. They took the resources and the teaching that you provided them and they flew with it. So keep this in mind and recognize that what our kids do is ultimately a reflection of them. We are just there to provide them some of the tools when they're younger and to hold their hand and guide them, but they are their own human little beings. All right, tip number 2. I want you to identify what activates you and how you can start letting go of needing to have so much control in every situation. Pay attention to where your child's independence or even defiance is really activating you or setting you off. Is their push for autonomy feeling like a challenge to your authority? Because it's actually a very natural process in their development and necessary for them to grow. This is normal. This is what we want them to do so that they can stand up and be their best selves on their own once we're gone. Look at ways that your kiddos might be separating from you that kind of activate you. Look into yourself and see, why is it so activating? Is it actually covering up feelings of hurt or sadness as they're becoming their own independent selves? You can also ask yourself honestly if you're feeling a loss of control somewhere else in your life that's spilling over into your parenting. Ultimately, our role is to witness, guide, and love our children. It's not to control them. So, if we can be curious about who they are becoming and why their brains are working the way they are, it allows us to have a perspective and even build this connection with them because we're coming from that place of curiosity. Curiosity instead of judgment or control is transformative and allows for us to have that connection. It's super, super telling for me when I see kids that feel like they have to perform really well, or they have to take all the high level courses, or they have to really be their best selves in order to achieve. And the funny thing is, a lot of them don't even recognize that this is not who they want to be or what they want to do. It's become so ingrained in them that they truly believe that they enjoy and love doing this, working in this grind mode, this constantly pushing themselves to be better, to be the best, to do all the things. And this is ultimately what leads to eventual burnout because this patterning becomes so imprinted on our children's brains that as they become adults, they don't know how to rest. They don't know how to self soothe. They don't know how to practice wellness in a way that fulfills them and fills their cup. So it is super important for us to model this behavior for them as well. Empowering our children to notice that having control of our life includes having control over our wellness, our rest time, as well as all the other things that we're trying to accomplish is key to their ultimate health span and lifespan and well being. Tip number 3, respond to the content, not the tone. This little tip I got from Bev Aaron. I know she was in a previous episode, but she has a wonderful little episode that she's created on parenting as well. But this tip that I heard her mention, responding to the content, not the tone, when it comes out of the mouths of our babes, was a total game changer for me. Our kids' tone, especially the tone from the older kids, can be tough to ignore. But if we focus on what they're saying instead of how they're saying it can completely shift our energy. It can completely shift the way we respond to them. So I know this is really, really hard. I always talk about when I was interacting with my daughter, I would see her, we'd have a conversation and she would raise her eyebrow at me. And my brain, when I saw her raise that eyebrow, would immediately go to, oh, she's questioning me. She's disrespecting me. She doesn't want to hear what I have to say. And that would activate me into my anger spiral. So if we can instead just simply focus on the words of their message rather than the tone, it allows us to stay in power. It allows us to not get activated with the emotions. So try practicing that. When we can ignore that tone, it simply takes the wind out of their sails and it prevents unnecessary arguments with them. I want you to also consider that a lot of times these interactions and these tense conversations happen when we ask things of them, when we want them to do certain things. And a lot of this is revolving around chores, like participation to be able to live in this household and be a part of the family. So we have to start to accept that they're not always going to be happy when we ask them to do something like the dishes or taking out the trash or picking up the dog poop from the yard. They don't like it. We don't like it. This is normal. This is a normal response from them because they're kids. And after all, they're still trying to manage their emotions around all the responsibilities. As adults, we've learned to do things that we don't necessarily enjoy doing. So, expecting our kids to jump into every ask with a smile every time isn't realistic. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do by grumbling about it now and then. So, accept it. It's going to happen. One of the ways I used to think about it is I know my kiddos are not going to be happy about doing these chores, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be. This is totally normal. I'm going to expect for them to grumble and moan and be unhappy, and this means that they're a normal human being. That's one of the ways I would kind of get through it when I heard it. All right, tip number 4, let your kids experience life's ups and downs just as they experience them. Just like us, our kids are going to have the positives and negatives in the experiences that they have in their life. So trying to keep them happy all of the time isn't realistic. And quite frankly, it's a disservice to them. It's not helpful. We have to shift to let them face their challenges and the setbacks that they have because pain is essential. I know it sounds really mean and cruel to say that as a parent, but it's so true. It's like a low-cost training program for real life experiences that they're going to have with much more intensity as they get older. It's providing them with the resilience that they're going to need to develop as they get older. One example I like to give to kind of drive this home is talking about how we teach our kids when they're young that their emotional agency is caused by other people. And when we tell them and say comments to them about, oh, so and so made you feel sad because she didn't invite you to the party, or so and so hurt your feelings because they didn't include you to play on the playground, we're teaching them when we say sentences like this that their emotional agency is due to other people's actions. But in reality, that is so not true. Okay. What I've always taught and talked about is our thoughts about what happens is what causes our emotions. And so I want to offer maybe it's actually productive for you to allow your kiddos to feel some of these negative feelings. Okay. So when your kiddo's not invited to the party or they're not picked to be on the team and they're upset about it, can you instead say, tell me about what you were thinking when you realized you weren't invited? Or tell me what you were feeling when they didn't pick you to be on their team. You can cultivate an environment where it's safe to feel and discuss all of the feelings that they're having, the good ones and the bad ones, so that they are feeling all the feelings instead of simply trying to fix it to avoid any hard feelings that they might experience. Because reality is, you're never going to shield them and protect them from the hard feelings. The best thing that you can do is allow them to experience them as children when the stakes are low, so you can teach them the tools they need to experience the good and the bad. One of the other examples I like to give is when our kids are flaring up and having a tantrum and are just totally losing their shit. I want you to try to take a breath, get back in the moment, and ask yourself, how is this an opportunity to build connection with my kiddo? How can I come from love, even with the discipline that I'm going to need to deliver in this scenario? One of the things you can do is just say to your kid, I get that you're mad with my answer. I get that you're mad with the response. And even though that's what I'm going to make us have to move forward with here, I understand and can see that you're upset about it. And it's okay for you to be upset. When you try to distract your kids from having a tantrum, giving them a lollipop or trying to get their mind off of it, you're actually teaching them how to resist or avoid their emotions. Okay. You're teaching them how to buffer from feeling the true feelings that they're having. Instead, if you can allow them to have their emotion and stay calm and maybe sit with them and just kind of say, I get it. This really sucks. How can I support you right now? I'm just going to sit with you. I know it feels yucky. This is what teaches them that it's okay to have the full range of emotions and just to be present with them. Because again, when we're present with our emotions, they tend to pass after some time. Remember, their 50-50 mix of the emotions is part of being human. 50% bad and 50% good. So shielding them from every hardship only sets them up to struggle more later on. The best thing you can do is allow them to feel all the feels from the beginning. Tip number 5, I want you to model the behavior that you want to see in your kids. Our kids mirror us more than we realize. If we're operating under a constant sense of urgency or stress, they pick up on it. So we need to be able to be vulnerable with them, be able to have conversations with them to allow them to see that we are also working on processing our own emotions, especially when it's coming from anger or frustration. Let them see your efforts to manage and resolve your own feelings. Just like the frank conversation I described to you in the episode about handling the interactions with your spouse, I encourage you to have similar dialogues with your kiddos to share with them your journey and your intentions with how you work through these crappy little emotions. This gives them the framework for handling their own emotions. Family talks are also a great opportunity for modeling the behaviors that you want to see in them. Because when you're all together, you can encourage intuitive listening. That's where you allow the person talking to just talk and you sit there and listen to them. You really hear what they are saying. And if someone starts to interrupt or talk over someone else, you can call a gentle timeout and remind everyone that the person speaking has the floor and you're just there to listen with love and patience. This is what fosters that connection and cultivates the communication in an effective manner. Our childhood experiences affect us as parents. And so, to go a little deeper, I want to leave you with a little self reflection exercise for today. I want you to take some time this week to think about how your own childhood experiences shaped your reactions as a parent today. I'll attach a link to the Child ACEs survey in the show notes. The purpose of this survey, the Adverse Childhood Experiences Survey, is to measure the impact of childhood trauma on a person's health and well-being later in life. I learned about this survey in the trauma course with Dr. Kimia Saroff that I took, and it is a completely enlightening survey because it helped me realize how many people actually have experienced some form of childhood trauma that has impacted them today in their life as an adult. So I encourage you to utilize this tool to reflect on your past experiences, to build awareness on how your childhood stories might have impacted you in adulthood and as a parent if it also applies to you in parenthood. These reflections might bring up old patterns and increase your awareness around your own childhood trauma. So remember to be gentle with yourself as you go through this if you choose to do the survey. And if it feels overwhelming, just pause and take a break or skip it altogether and consider reaching out to a healthcare professional if you need additional assistance. I'm going to give you some closing thoughts on acceptance versus condoning. And I know this was really a big area for me because I don't know if it was partially because of my upbringing, but a lot of my thoughts revolved around if I show my kids that I accept what they're doing, it's going to mean that I'm giving them a message that that's okay for them to do it, even when I didn't agree with it. So, as we work on improving our relationships with our children, one thing we can do is to understand the difference between acceptance and condoning of behaviors. Accepting who our kids are and where they are in their journey doesn't mean we're giving them the free pass to behaviors that need to be addressed or changed. Instead, it allows us to see them as they are without adding all the layers of judgment. And when we can show up for our kids from a place of acceptance, while removing the idea that acceptance equals our condoning troublesome behaviors, we allow ourselves to show up in a way that fosters connection and vulnerability. Because as our kiddos get older, we as parents will have less and less control over what they do and the choices they make. The choice we can make is how we want to show up for them to remain connected and allow them to grow into the individuals they are and are destined to become. We have done our job providing them with the tools needed to become good humans. After a certain point in their teen years and young adulthood, the responsibility of being a good human shifts to them. Acceptance means creating a space to address behaviors calmly and thoughtfully rather than through reaction or control. It lets us guide from a place of respect, which ultimately helps them feel seen, safe, and more open to growth and connection with us, the most important humans, hopefully, in their lives. Because ultimately, the best gift is to have kids who want to spend time with us, even after they leave the nest when they really don't have to. That's something that I have finally feel that we have accomplished in our house, and that's the best gift ever. I encourage you to reflect and listen back to this episode and take some of the pointers that might be relevant or resonant for you and start working step by step on this. And if you have questions on how to implement some of these tools or struggles that you're having with your kiddos, feel free to drop me a line or reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk you through them. Thank you so much for joining me today on the episode. Parenting totally can be a challenge, but every moment is an opportunity to learn and grow alongside with our kiddos. The work you're doing within yourself benefits not just you, but your entire family. And this is where we get the opportunity to change the narrative. This is where we can make a difference in how we show up for our kids and ultimately how we show up for ourselves. So until next time, take care, stay compassionate, and remember to lead with curiosity. I'll see you soon. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of From Pissed Off to Poised. Remember, transformation is a journey, not a destination. So enjoy the ride. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review From Pissed Off to Poised on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback supports my mission to get this podcast out to help other women physicians and professionals like you on their path to creating a more peaceful life with more intention and more joy. I enjoy reading every message I get with your input and feedback on my journey, so keep them coming. And if you have a friend who might enjoy the listen, please share this episode and show with them. Lastly, if you want to learn more about my coaching programs and course offerings, check out my website at www.thoughtworkmd.com. Feel free to reach out to me to learn more about investing in yourself through one-to-one coaching so you can start living the life you've always wanted. This show is for general educational and entertainment purposes only. Life coaching is not a substitute for therapy or medical treatment.